Welcome to this session on bridging, widening, sharing, and with a very nice subtitle, which is Let's Advance Europe Together. Those of you which were involved in the negotiations of Horizon Europe probably recognize in part the pitches of the Austrian presidency, which really tried and made a big impact on the negotiations on Horizon Europe, including on the part of the program which is being used by so many of you in the room here this evening. Welcome to the successful teaming projects. We met this morning. It's a real pleasure to see you again. More to come with the teaming projects later during the session. So let's advance Europe together was the motto of the Austrian presidency, and I think this is really what widening policy is all about. This is not about tactical discussion on the future European budget. How much do I get out of the budget? Frankly, this is not for us. It's not about I'm good, I'm not good. The issue here is that if we want Europe to succeed, if we want European research and innovation policy to make a real difference, this can only be done if research and innovation is delivered across all member states and with our partners around Europe. And this is what widening and sharing is all about. That member states, all of them together, ramp up their effort and the quality of their research and innovation system. And this discussion, I find, is completely different in quality from only maybe 5 years ago. If I can share with you one anecdote from the Council of Ministers when this was discussed, because this is obviously a central discussion in the program. You had, and I'm not going to give you countries because I don't think I should do that publicly, but that's not the point. You had a minister from a big member state with a very well resourced and frankly very impactful research and innovation system, which was saying, frankly, what is not happening in another member state, because there are less resources, less reforms which were carried out, is not a problem for that member state, it's a problem for my member state. Because what is not happening in this member state is a problem for us collectively. And then you had ministers from member states where a lot of resources will need to be devoted to research and innovation in the future, where the system needs to be restructured, reformed, improved, which was saying, frankly, for me, this is the priority, and the way I want to do it is to base my effort on the principle of excellence. So this dichotomy between widening on the one hand, excellence on the other hand, frankly, between research ministers and in the Horizon Europe program, this is very much the past. And this is why I'm also so impressed by the agreement between ministers and the European Parliament to devote in the future program 3.3% of the resources to this widening, sharing, advancing Europe together topic. Voila. So we have a great panel. I will introduce you as you come and speak. I will not do it at the outset. To discuss how collectively we can, on the one hand, use the resources of the program smartly, but it's more than just the program. I think it's also very much an issue of reforms, of fiscal priorities, of smart specialization. These are all key topics which you are confronted with when you are looking at your national innovation system. And we have, as a first speaker, to guide us in this large discussion with a strong economic background, because this is also what this is about. We have Pierre Alexandre Balon. His name doesn't indicate it, but he is a professor in Utrecht at the Utrecht University, but also works at the MIT. And Pierre Alexandre will give us an overview of his findings. His research focuses very much on uneven economic development of cities and how you deal with that, notably with smart specialization. So Pierre Alexandre, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, dear Director General, dear panelists. It's great to be here and share this panel with you. Thank you so much to you all in the audience for being here today. make it to the really last session, I can tell you, you will not regret it, because this session really tackles, I believe, absolutely essential issues, defining issues of our time that we have to deal with if we want to think about the research innovation policy of the future. And I'm very, very pleased to be here in this session and to see that the core topics of the research innovation divide, you know, these regional inequalities, these huge gaps that we see between the cities that have everything, where finance, talent, innovation flock, and the rest, where you can feel that this gap is getting bigger, to basically see that this type of research questions are making it really to the core of the discussion in these research innovation days makes me very happy. Because these type of questions are actually, I don't know if you know that, but they're actually an entire research field called the geography of innovation, where the only thing we care about is trying to understand these huge gaps. You know, why do we have so much concentration of innovation? And the big question is like, is this concentration of innovation increasing? What is the impact on our citizens? What is the impact on political turmoil? Like a lot of events that you've witnessed over the past couple of years are in large extent a consequence of these huge gaps of innovation that creates immense wealth on the one hand and also a lot of distress on the other hand. So we have to tackle these issues together. And I decided to my slides are like somewhere in one of the corner. So I decided as a title to talk about innovation policy in a complex, unequal world. Because the amount of complexity, the degree of complexity of our economy, of our society today, and the amount of inequality that we see forces us to reshape and rethink the way we design innovation policy. And my goal in this talk is basically to share a couple of empirical facts and a couple of ideas with you that have been like, you know, kind of emerging from this field of the research of innovation, and share this with you and see, well, how we can think about these issues together from an academic perspective, from a practitioner perspective, from like also like from the industry perspective, how we can advance these issues. Okay, so first, like, what is the start of the art? You know, like, how bad is it when we talk about this type of innovation, research innovation gaps? How bad is it, and where does it come from? So let me try to see, to actually have a look at my slides. So this winner-takes-all economy that we kind of all grasp, we kind of feel, you know, this San Francisco, this Paris that have everything, where talent flocks. This winner-take-all economy is based on two main mechanisms that I believe are not very well understood. So first thing is like, let's make sure that we understand these two pillars. The first is that when you have like new innovation, when you have like decreasing transportation costs, when you have like information and technology that diffuse, what happens is that the world of knowledge consumption, so basically when you use Google, when you use one of your tablets, so the world of knowledge consumption is getting flatter. So basically, if you're a producer of knowledge, you can reach your customer everywhere in the world, because the cost to access these knowledge goods are getting really, really low. The marginal costs are really, really low. What it means is that if you have the choice to use a search engine, which is Google, which is the best in the world, and another one, if the costs are the same, everybody's going to jump into Google. If you can access education from MIT, which is one of the best universities in the world, or from Albi, which is one of the small towns next to Toulouse, where I'm from, in the south of France, what do? If cost is not an issue, if like transportation costs, housing costs, admission costs, if all of this is not an issue, what do? You choose the best. You choose the number one, which creates this kind of self-reinforcing effect where the more you have these companies, for instance, Google, the more they have customers, the more they acquire data, the better their algorithm, the better their prediction, which means the better their product, which means, again, the better they can attract customers. And you see this kind of self-reinforcing loop happening, which creates this knowledge economy in which we have a winner-take-all economy. So these technologies, this advance, they produce a world of knowledge consumption which is getting really, really flat, where competition is getting really, really killed in this world. Now, what happens as well, which is like the second pillar, which is very, very worrisome because these two issues happen in tandem, is basically that the world of knowledge production is getting spikier. So there is this kind of paradox when you think about, you know, technologies such as Skype, such as like, even like smartphone, that will allow us to diffuse knowledge and create knowledge from everywhere in the world is not really what's happening in practice. In practice, when we study the geography of innovation, and we just published a paper where we analyze the geography of innovation going back to 1790, what we see is that the concentration of innovation is increasing. So if you let the market, if you let the complexity of the economy play a role by itself, what's happening is this huge, immense gap between a few cities that have it all and the rest that have less and less. So that's what's happening. This is the world in which we live. And this is absolutely increasing. What we see going back with like 250 years of data is every time we have a technological revolution, this gap increases. They unleash. So this kind of inequality explodes. So this is the world we live in. Now, what happens if you fast forward and if you think about, the technologies of the future? So we wrote a report for the World Bank on like looking at the European hubs of the industries of the future. And we use different type of network science techniques to analyze basically where this kind of technology will pop up based on the type of capabilities, the early signal that we can grab in our data. And what we found is that, if anything, the world of the knowledge creation of the future of the Industry 4.0 will be even more unevenly distributed. So my first point here is that if you let the market by itself, you have this huge inequality that's increasing by itself. So we do have, from an innovation policy perspective, we do have to take care of this inequality, because the market itself does not take care of that. So that's clearly a market failure. And at least research innovation policy should not reinforce this inequality, should not reinforce this winner-take-all economy. But we also have another message, which is we do have, not only to provide social cohesion and to avoid political turmoil, we need to have this kind of cohesive research innovation policy, but we actually need to do that also from an excellence perspective. Because there is one key word when you work on like the economies of the future and complex economy, and one key word is scale. So we need a massive amount of engineer, a massive amount of knowledge to produce these very highly complex technologies, such as biotechnology, such as advanced technologies in blockchain and AI. We need a massive amount of engineer. If you heard about Amazon, that was looking for a second headquarter in the US, is basically because between Microsoft and Amazon, they hired every talented engineer in Seattle. So the market was getting saturated. So they were looking for a second headquarter. So the scale is very important. If you try to understand why you don't see in these tech giants, ranging from Google to Baidu to Tencent to Amazon, if you don't see a European champion, it's basically because none of the European member states has the scale to compete with these giants. It's either we team up and we work together. The European Union has the potential to scale and have one of these giants. You won't see a German Facebook, a French Google, an Italian Amazon. That cannot happen because of the issue of scale. We cannot compete between us. We have to work together, and we need to have this sharing, widening experience also from an excellence perspective. That's not easy, but we don't have a choice. We have to do it. But we did. Like, I'm from Toulouse, and Toulouse is one of the home of Airbus, but Airbus is a European adventure. What happens is like Airbus you had like aerospace industry in Germany, in France, a little bit in the UK, and what happened, instead of competing, we divided the labor. So the wings of the A380 are designed in the UK. The A380 is assembled in Toulouse. And we do have a truly European competitive company because we achieve scale, because we manage to work together. This is the challenge of AI, blockchain, the green technologies. How are we going to work together and not against each other, which is very often what you see in practice. Now, one of the key solutions to do that is also to understand where innovation comes from. Innovation does not come from France. Innovation doesn't come from Germany. Innovation comes from the European regions and European cities. So this graph that I won't really explain, but basically what this graph is telling you is that as cities are getting bigger, you have like more than proportional form of innovation. So cities are really the locus of innovation. That's what this graph is telling you. We have the Smart Specialization Initiative, which is a truly place-based innovation policy in the context of cohesion policy, but we also need a place-based innovation policy in the context of research innovation, which is highly successful. The Smart Specialization Initiative is highly successful. So we have to think about it in this way. We do also have the means to understand the form of complementarity between regions. So what we did, this is a report for DG Regio, we analyzed the capabilities of different regions, and what we found out is like for a specific technology, which type of region is the most complementary to any other. So there is an immense amount of complementarity between EU regions that is untapped. So I have only 4 key messages that I will just reiterate with you once again. The first one is like the geographical inequalities, they increase as the economy is getting more complex. This is a fact that comes from the research of a huge field of study, so we have to do something about it. We need to make sure that research innovation policy does not reinforce these inequalities. This is not a trivial task at all. Europe needs all its talents beyond EU15 to scale and compete with the US and China in the Industry 4.0 technology, economy, and EU cities and regions, not EU countries, non-member states, are the key to producing and spreading excellence and widening participation. Thank you so much for your attention.
Pierre Alexandre, thank you very much for this speedy and very mind-boggling presentation. I think it was all there at the end. There is a market failure, clearly. And there is a full justification for member states, but also regional and city level, and then, of course, European Union programs, to come in and try to correct and address these market failures. This is very much what we discussed throughout the afternoon, also on the missions. Now, we have 3 speakers which are, in fact, doing it, each of you in a different capacity, in a different way. In particular, doing it, of course, also with European instruments, but don't feel yourself confined to these European instruments as you now come into the discussion. And I start with Zlatouše Novotná. You are Head of Strategic Partnerships at the SATEC University in the Czech Republic. You coordinate a twinning project now, but more than that, in the last, I think, 15 years, you have engaged with European Union programs, starting from FP5, I understand from your biography. And therefore, on the one hand, you know the challenge from a university ecosystem, and maybe you have a few success stories also from interacting with the European level. Please.
Thank you very much.
No.
It will start. It will start.
Okay, so thank you very much, and hello everybody. I am very happy being invited.
No, it's yeah, you're right. It hasn't started. Can we go? Try again.
1, 2, 3.
No. Ah, ça va venir.
1, 2.
Donc c'est le premier micro, le deuxième micro en fait devant vous. Voilà, on va corriger ça.
Technology.
Probably it's on. Probably it's on.
It's working. Okay, because I don't. Now I hear
Voilà.
myself. Thank you very much. So sorry for this
No,
problems.
we are.
So hello everybody. I'm very happy being invited to this session by the Widening unit. It's really a pleasure and an honor for me. And also, it's an honor to introduce to you our experience with the Widening project. I come, as was introduced, from the Central Europe, especially Brno. It's the second largest city of the Czech Republic, and we are very proud that we are the most innovative region of our country. And our experience with the Widening project is very, very big because we run 3 twinning projects and 1 ERA chair. And we also prepared 1 teaming project, and it was not selected for funding in the second phase, but still also the first phase was a great experience. So I'd like to share with you some thoughts about the pillars of this success, maybe also some challenges that we had to overcome, and then I will conclude with several recommendations for European level, for institutional level. So first of all, the pillars of success, as I said. So I think the first thing to be successful in Widening project is having enough capacity And it concerns not only the infrastructure, but also the talented people. It's a lot about building capacity in a long term. We started already in FP7 with research potential. Maybe some of you remember this capacities program in FP7. And it was a great tool for attracting talents, not only attracting, but also retaining talents, because this is the issue really. If you have the incoming researchers from the western part of Europe or overseas, and then the project ends, this is a question of sustainability, how to retain these people. Then the second pillar is being truly international. This means to having the working language English, having the administration speaking English, all the welcome services, everything connected. So my experience is that it takes time, let's say 5 years, 10 years, but it's about changing the culture and introducing the governance of in the institutions, which is like on the European standard, or let's say Western European standards. This is what the incoming researchers require, what they expect, and what is, I would say, the main challenge also internally. Then maybe the challenge is the first of, in the twinning projects, especially was a lot of skepticism of our researchers. They said just the twinning, just the networking wouldn't help to increase the impact in research. Yeah, on one hand, it's true, it's a networking, it costs a lot of time, but on the other hand, we made some recommendations also to the Commission, and now we are very happy that in Horizon Europe we will have also some small money for direct financing directly the research here for this widening or spreading, sharing excellence tools, which will help a lot. And I heard from our researchers that it's not enough to have workshops, summer schools, networking, but really, if they want to start collaboration, they need some half a year sending one student to the partner institution, or for 1 year. It's not a big money, but it really makes the change, the change in the minds of people and in the culture. It helps also building trust. It was the other challenge in this project, building the trust. If you imagine 3 years are a very short time for building trust. So really, this is something to work on from the very beginning. Very energetic kickoff, very energetic start is my recommendation. And what we do to build the trust, we are very happy that CETEC is the only member in EU Life, the very prestigious European Alliance, as the only partner from the Central and Eastern Europe. And this was an inspiration for us as CETEC that we established a similar network in the Central Eastern Europe called Alliance for Life. And we try to be a bridge between the Western partner association and then Eastern or Central and Eastern European partners. We try to transfer the best practice from what we learn from each other, and we also try to form some common voice to influence the national policies and the European research policies. And I think that it's about sharing. I very much like the term sharing, because it's about giving and receiving back and upscale and improve jointly. This is what I very much like on these instruments in the widening and sharing excellence. Now, the other challenge was reaching some commitment of this institution, because the widening project is not only about the project as such, but about the commitment of the leadership of our institutions, of the management. It's about wise long-term strategic thinking in the institutions. And I think, or I'm sure, that all the teaming projects, for instance, which were successful in these calls, have very wise top-level management also in these widening countries. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible that they succeed in these calls. So my message to conclude is to be light in terms of cultural change and this governance of our institutions in widening countries. And stay open to international incoming researchers, give all the support to talents in our institutions, fight against national peculiarities, I would say, that we inherited from the past and which we didn't succeed to overcome all. So it's a lot of national reforms that Jean-Eric mentioned. So if we want to influence this, we have to create the future. Yeah, so we have to be actively involved in shaping national policies. And finally, my kind request would be, let's go beyond these coordination support actions in widening. Let's extend the impact also to research and innovation actions, because this is the goal of the whole thing. Yeah. So we need more ERC grantees, more advanced consortia being here in our regions. And because it became a very important independent benchmark of scientific excellence, not only individually, but also if we speak about the institutional performance. So really we need a big budget for these excellent science projects and schemes. So thank you very much.
I should say thank you very much. And I think the way this is being set up in your university is really a recipe for success. What I retain, I mean, there are many lessons which I'm sure you have carefully listened to and taken note of. One is to be strategic, be there for the long haul. This doesn't happen overnight. And the other one is indeed that for these various projects which become available, don't wait. Get into it immediately. This is when you can really have impact. And lastly, you're right, and thank you for your comment on sharing. I like that much better myself. This is what the Commission proposed, but in the negotiation we came back to widening, which is the more traditional concept. It's very clear that this is a stepping stone, but where the difference will be made is when institutions will increasingly and more systematically be fully part of the European Research Council outreach and of course also collaborative projects. But this is happening increasingly and also in the Czech Republic. If I now move, Vesna, to you, Vesna Bingin, you are a coordinator of a rather famous project, famous for me anyway, which is the Antares project, which is remarkable in content. You will certainly say a few words on it, but also what I find really very remarkable, it's a teaming project, a big teaming project, which would allow the creation of a center of excellence, the Bioscience Institute, in Serbia. Yes. So in one of the associated countries. I think this is also very much a direction for us collectively. The effort of the European research area is between member states, but clearly associated countries are fully part of the effort. And your experience from that point of view would, I think, be very interesting for all of us.
Thank you very much, Jean-Eric, on this very nice introduction. I'm very glad to be here and to be able to, well, to play with the title, to share our experience about bridging and widening. So indeed, 3 years into the project, we realized that disparities in research and innovation go hand in hand with disparities in economic growth. And one is the source, origin, but also the consequence of the other, unfortunately. And we have seen the teaming as an excellent instrument to break this vicious cycle between low R&I performance and poor economy. Not only for the financial means. Of course, financial means provided through teaming are very significant, but also very important are political means. We see teaming as a driver to national politics to instill change, institutional change, in terms of decisions in autonomy in decision-making, the new advanced salary policies, hiring policies, organization of research in the widening countries. Also, teaming instilled a mindset change in our researchers. So they focus now in science for impact, they focus on excellence, and also they are held accountable far more than they were before. But teaming is not easy. So we were asked to turn disparities from obstacles to strengths. And we were asked to create strategic partnerships with our advanced partners. And to do that, we had to really focus on mutual gains. And I would like to share with you on how we have truly created a strategic partnership with our advanced partner that we believe will live far longer than the project itself. So from the very start, we focused on identifying complementarities between us. Because complementarities are good, they make good couples, basically. So not only in research sense, we did pick an advanced partner with complementary scientific expertise to ours, but then along the way, we found other differences that we can use to work for us rather than against us. For example, demographics. We teamed up aging research personnel of our Dutch partnering institution with young and vibrant and less experienced research from Bioscience. And this created amazing teams that are making beautiful science today. That was something we didn't see coming. That was something that we discovered along the way. Then from the very beginning, we insisted on the clear motives and expectations from this collaboration. Expectations are a tricky thing. They can lead to all sorts of misunderstandings. So basically, both parties were from the very beginning clear on their motives for the participation in such an exercise, but also on the expected benefits and gains. We gradually developed collaboration. We started with smaller joint research projects, such as lighthouse initiatives, and then we scaled them up, and today, in the third year of project, we already have some of strategic research going on there, joint research. We did this not only to test each other's scientific expertise and competencies, but also to find, to put the right people into right places, to find the real chemistry in the teams, which is then very important for sustainability of research and of this collaboration. And finally, we are constantly monitoring not only the results of the research and the project, but also we are constantly monitoring the mutual benefits that are emerging for both institutions. To that end, we created the joint strategic research agenda, and all the results we measure in accordance with this joint agenda of two institutions. So to conclude, working across research and innovation divide, it's possible. It's yielding beautiful results, but it's also very, very hard. It probably wouldn't be interesting unless it wasn't hard, but it is hard. So a lot of support is needed, both in financial terms, in political terms, in flexibility, and I'm very grateful to see lots of flexibility coming from the side of Commission, because we need to modify certain tasks and activities as we go on. There is a learning curve. Also, this process requires innovative approach from our side as well. Not all the things that we thought will be smooth are smooth in real life. For example, hiring, bringing experts from abroad into a widening country, it's difficult. It's difficult for all sorts of private reasons. It's not only a matter of salary. So we have to be innovative in thinking of new mechanisms, such as, for example, sabbaticals, or even training our young researchers to become the experts of tomorrow. And we are very fortunate to have 7 years of project duration for exercise like that. Also, generally speaking, we have to look at the new mechanisms for widening. And one of such initiatives is West Balkan Research Facility, that there's been a lot of talk about it. So we do believe that all sorts of mechanisms that will help us researchers from widening countries to work across this divide are very welcome. But most importantly, what is needed are champions. So we need strong, motivated, excellent, brave people that are able to make this transformation. And indeed, we do see the teaming works. In Serbia, science is at the top of political agendas. That never happened before. Okay. Furthermore, not only science, but digitalization and digital transformation of agriculture, and that is what Antares is all about, is at the top of political agendas. That is due to the teaming and to our joint efforts put in there. We, as researchers, are being invited to contribute to new laws, which rarely happens. We are also being invited, not only by companies, industry, but by the government, to set up new technological systems that will make agri-food sector of Serbia more efficient. Again, that's a huge result of teaming. We see our farming sector changing, embracing digital technologies, and already now seeing some effects, economical effects out of it. We also see our IT sector shifting from outsourcing towards having its own products in AgTech sector. And we do see that we did indeed become kind of influencers, that's a modern word, in the region. We see other institutions looking at our example and trying to follow the similar path, whether in organization of research or salary and hiring policies. So there is a lot of happening in the region thanks to the teaming project and teaming mechanism. So I strongly believe from this 3 years experience that widening can indeed advance Europe. And I think it's on the benefit of not only the widening countries, but both sides. As you nicely mentioned, also we need all the smart people in Europe to be able to play the game with China and US, etc. And as Commissioner Moedas and Commissioner Maria Gabriel also mentioned, direction of RI is the direction of Europe. So I do hope that we will continue widening and advancing Europe together.
Vesna, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think you said one thing, this is something which is not easy, and the 14 teaming projects which will come on stage in a moment certainly will confirm that. It needs champions, huh? But you are here all sitting there. Can I now, Jana Pavlic, come to you? You are Joint Head of Government and EU Relations at EMBL, the European Molecular Biology Laboratory, I mean one of the greatest European infrastructure. One of the best world infrastructures, frankly. And, well, you have quite a distinguished career on European public policies, and then you moved into science. Well done. And you are also, on the other side, helping a teaming project, the HCEMM teaming project. Don't ask me what the acronym is, please. But you will tell us, coordinated by Hungary. So maybe you have also a bit the other side. But beyond that, maybe also a word on how an institution like the EMBL is part of that broader discussion.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here and to share my experience with the widening measures, and in particular the teaming today. Thank you for inviting me, Monsieur Paquet. So I think you introduced the EMBL very well. I won't go into that, but I would indeed like to start with why EMBL engages in the widening measures. We are also engaged in twinnings, but this one particular teaming with the Hungarian partners. So I have to start the story with the EMBL member states. We have currently 27 member states, and in recent years, we have been expanding our membership to the Central, Eastern European, and the Baltic countries. And we see that the scientific communities there are interested in stronger connections and very often also in advice on excellence in research. So when we heard about the teaming instrument, our immediate thought was actually, we have to do it. EMBL has been actually carrying out very similar activities in some of our member states, and thus engaging in the widening measure felt very natural. And so then we joined forces with a consortium of Hungarian partners to establish the, here is the tricky part, HCMM, Hungarian Center of Excellence in Molecular Medicine.
Thank you.
Actually, we were contemplating about the name for a long time, you know. Besides EMBL, so this consortium brings together quite a diverse partners in Hungary. So we have the Semmelweis University, the University of Szeged, Biological Research Center in Szeged, and during the preparation phase, also the National Innovation Office, which support was very key for success of this project. And we know when we were writing the project, the EMBL senior management and I traveled to Budapest every month. So when we learned that we got the grant, this was really important for us and really joyful. And in general, I believe that the most valuable aspect of the teaming instrument is actually the focus on institution building, because this distinguishes it from all the research projects to which the scientific community is so accustomed, as it requires more strategic thinking, it requires involvement of management in all partner institutions, and also substantial financial contribution from the national sources. And from my experience, it is really crucial that everyone in the consortium accepts this. On the Hungarian side, I have to say that the whole team, from the project management to directors and directors, was committed to success from day one. So I would like to mention 3 institution building practices that we have implemented and what we have learned. First, we have carefully designed the internal structure of the Institute to ensure the autonomy of research and decision-making. So the Institute has an external international scientific advisory board with 2 senior members from EMBL. Second, we initiated international recruitment and international review of applications for the DG position, group leaders, and all the co-facility heads. And we can see that the first recruitments, expats returning to their home universities, and also international researchers joining the Institute. Competitive salaries here play a very important role, but I'm sure many other aspects as well, Vesna. Third, we included ACMM to the EMBL partnership community, which brings together national institutes across Europe and focuses heavily on molecular medicine. And actually, as we speak, ACMM group leaders are networking with the research leaders in the field in Barcelona. A few years into the project, then, I dare to say that actually we are on the right track. But of course, we also faced some challenges during this time. And some are resolved and some are still in front of us. And at this occasion, I would like to mention 2. First, the project had a requirement for a legal personality. And this sounded easier to execute than it actually was for our partners in Hungary. We lost a year examining various legal possibilities and limitations with the national legislation. So for future teaming projects, I wonder if it might be worth considering other options for ensuring financial and decision-making autonomy. And second, once the institute is established and researchers are employed, like it is the case now at ACMM, access to national funds may be delayed due to complex procurement rules. Mm-hmm. It would be very helpful to use part of the teaming round also for research costs in order to close this gap. Mm-hmm. To conclude, I would like to say that from the advanced partner point of view, I believe that teaming is really a key instrument that strategically links decision makers in science, as Vesna and Zlata already mentioned, and researchers. And indeed, also in our experience, has the potential to transfer good practices beyond the institute, also to a regional and national level. So ideally, I would actually like to see the countries themselves create funding instruments that make such strategic cooperation possible. And I want to conclude on a more idealistic note, like Commissioner Moedas was today also in this feeling the whole day. It's very nice, actually. I personally also believe that for Europe to succeed, we really must work together and help each other and encourage each other to be better and actually to outdo ourselves. And I see science and research in exactly the same way. So thank you for your attention, and I look forward to the discussion.
Lena, thank you very much. Thank you also for indeed underlining the sometimes challenging interaction and synergies between structural funds and the teaming itself. I'm sure you all have that experience. It's a challenge with the Commission and also, of course, in the implementation at national level. We have very little time for the discussion because I also want then to have the opportunity to ask the teaming projects to come on stage with Madame Balon, Chair of the ITRI Committee, which I would like to greet, with Carlos Moedas, Research Commissioner. Maria Gabriel, can I announce your presence, even if you will not be on stage, to meet you and congratulate you. So I will only ask you, each of you in turn, one question, the same for all of you. And it comes from your presentations to a large extent. If you could give your government, or maybe the new commissioner, one piece of advice on how, from your experience and in your engagement, you can help the national systems thrive and develop, and or how this then relates to the deep challenge of brain drain or brain circulation. 2 of you mentioned that. This is a genuine challenge for Europe. And I can tell you this is a challenge which is very obvious because Europe itself suffers from the brain drain into other parts of the world. So that is something which I think is well understood by all of us. I mean, how do we deal with that? So maybe, can I do it in reverse order?
Sure.
Jana.
So, from my experience, I mean, how could the governments adopt? I think what is really needed in science and research is more funds for strategic cooperation, like I alluded to in my speech. And I would give you one example. It's an excellent example. It's a Polish Foundation for Polish Science, which has created a funding program that imitates teaming to some extent. And also there, with the Nęcki Institute in Poland, we applied for funding, and we are now establishing an Institute of Excellence in Neurobiology. So I think it is possible to do more on the national level, and for me it's such a delight that countries with so much potential as Poland have realized this and are already doing steps in this direction, and I think it would be wonderful if other countries could follow.
Thank you. Very, very concrete. We listened.
Thank you. Well, the problem is complex and the landscape is quite diverse, so I don't think there is a one best recipe that can fit all, but I'm sure the basic ingredients are the same. So for me, first of all, consensus among all stakeholders on where we want to go and what we want to do. But secondly, and truly the most important thing, is the strong political commitment of national governments. And in that sense, the request for autonomy that was put out in teaming is of, I cannot stress how much important that is of the utmost importance, but also, you know, truly having that autonomy out there in the field is not always as simple as it may look in deliverables or on paper. So to paraphrase Steve Jobs, you know, take smart people and you let them do what they think they should do. You don't tell them what to do, and that's what autonomy is all about. So for me, autonomy is the key ingredient.
That's a key value for science and research worldwide, but in Europe as well. Thank you.
Okay, so this is quite an important but complex question of how to let the science thrive. We had a national roundtable organized by Alliance for Life in all countries, member countries of the Alliance, and also in Prague. And there was a question: how can we motivate the best researchers to work with us or to stay with us within the country? And then the answer was, we should not demotivate them because they are smart enough, they are enough motivated. These are the best talents that made it up to the like independent position in science. So let's make their life easy to support them, to give them the best administrative support, and not to demotivate with a lot of bureaucracy or obstacles on national level, on international level.
Very pragmatic, but very important. I think I agree with you, and I've observed that in other universities, when, like in your case, there is a dedicated team supporting researchers, the impact and the success immediately increases. Pierre, Alexandre, do you want to help us to close this?
Yes, I do have two quick points to make. The first one is I will try to encourage everyone to think about Europe as a system in itself. And when you think about research innovation today, we have an immense landscape. We have a lot of knowledge workers all over Europe that are scattered around. And very often, myself as a researcher, I don't even know who is doing what where. And we need better tools. If you think about the type of matching tools that you have, that you use on your application, you use on your smartphone, we need this kind of tools to identify who is doing what where and have this kind of complementarity that become kind of obvious and then make this kind of collaboration much easier to happen. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in developing these tools. And the second one, I think, Director General, you made a very important point about like the brain drain, like of course within Europe, but also with, like, abroad. Like the reason why the US is so innovative is because it attracts top talent from all over the world. And we have, I think that's the major challenge for research innovation in Europe, we have to turn it around. We have to make sure that our top talented researchers stay in Europe. And I think, to be honest, something very, we talk about salaries and things like this, which are important, but not only. What I see very often, because I work a bit in the US and a bit in Europe, is like there is an issue of branding. So we have to be a little bit less modest in Europe, because I have an example of a colleague from MIT that just moved to Toulouse. And when he moved to Toulouse, he went there, he actually looked at the ecosystem, visited the city, and there were a lot of things that he didn't know. He didn't know like the state of the art of research in this university town, and he also didn't know anything about the quality of life in Europe. And we have to be a little bit less modest, and we have to make a bigger effort of branding, marketing, and make sure that our assets are known all over the world.
Thank you very much. I think this is a very, very clear message, and something which projects like the teaming projects, the twinning projects are also all about. Making visible centers of excellence across Europe, and indeed the diversity and the quality of the ecosystems, and then the quality of life, are very, very important selling points. So not just to retain Europeans in Europe, just to attract the others as well, I would say. Thank you very much for sharing your experience and your research results with us. We will now move to the second part of the session. Madame Valéane, as chair of the ITRE committee of the European Parliament, can I ask you to come on stage? Carlos Moedas, I don't think, Carlos, I need to introduce you. If you could both come on stage, and if you agree, what we will, maybe you maybe want to say a few words at the outset, but then I would like to ask in turn each of the teaming projects to come on stage and have the opportunity to be congratulated and greeted by both of you. Can we, do you want to say a few words, Carlos, before I get going?
I can.
You can.
And just a couple of words. So first of all, thank you for having me again here. I mean, it has been a long day and I've talked too much, but I'm very happy to be here for a couple of reasons. The first one is that my colleague, Commissioner Maria Gabriel, is here, and I've said all the good things about her before. So, and I really wish you from my heart, and as I said this morning, you have a dream portfolio of science, innovation, education, youth, and it's so good. So congratulations, we were happy to have you here. And then Adina Valéane, thank you so much. I think that the work we did always with ITRE, and now you're the chair of ITRE, I think this will be fantastic. And when I look at the cases that you've been talking today here, I thought about my first experiences when I went to Oporto first to meet one of these teaming projects, and then I went to a lot of these projects. And these projects are life-changing. I think that you said it so well. We have to be less modest, and I think that today I've tried to do that a little bit. And we have to tell about these examples. And these examples are unique. I mean, this is about putting people working together that normally will never meet, right? In universities that they'll never be. And the funny thing that I always found out is that the people that learn the most sometimes is not the ones you think. Is sometimes the other way around. Is the guy that comes from the very good institution in Germany or France that goes to Portugal or goes to Romania or goes to another country and then suddenly, oh, I'm learning. And it's a beautiful thing. So I'm very happy to be here for the session and to have the pleasure to have here Adina with us. Because let me tell you one thing. If there's a teaming widening program, is exactly because of the Parliament. In Horizon 2020, at the beginning, there was nothing. And then it was the Parliament. And we have here Graça Carvalho, the MEP Graça Carvalho that worked so hard for it. And we are also very happy to have her. And then it went up. And now I think we're getting to a very good level, Adina. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carlos, Director General, for having me here at almost at the beginning of my mandate as the chair of ITRE committee in the European Parliament. I like to start this way, and I like to start by recognizing all the efforts you have done for these programs to be a success. So thank you very much. And it's true that the European Parliament for widening measures gave you a lot of support. And we were asking, and we are continue to do so for an increased budgeting for that. We would like to see even up to 3.3% increase for the overall budget for widening measures in the Horizon Europe. So we'll be there supporting research and innovation as true friends of this this sector. And of course, thank you very much for having me here to meet and greet and congratulate the winners of teaming call for 2019. So thank you very much. And we are looking forward with trust to the future, because we know that we can team up and make a success out of the cooperation of the institutions.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Benevolent, thank you very much. Can I ask both of you maybe to go to the center, and I will now call you the various teaming projects in turn, so that you can greet them, and we can maybe then also have a quick picture. You don't move, because you are the today's experience of teaming, and the teamers need the other teamers. So team up as well, please. And I start with Rodrigo Cunha from the project MIA Portugal, which is about aging and health and well-being. Rodrigo. I continue with Janis Lokš from BBCE, which is biomaterials, and that's Latvia. Then we go back to Portugal with Biopolis and Nuno Miguel dos Santos Ferran de Almeida. Carlos, I don't know how good that was, but please come in. Biodiversity and genetic resources. For the Czech Republic, Jana Klanova. This is the Seto Cohen Environmental Health Science. Then this is too long a title. It's Marine and Maritime Research, Andreas Karakatsanis from Cyprus. CMMI Marit CX. Then we have a biobank, a very important biobank on e-health and human genome. That's Konstantinos Deltas, the Biobank of Cyprus. In Cyprus, we also have EMI Care, which is about climate and weather research with Jean Schiare. But then we have the best acronym in reality of all, because this is teaming in French, Ensemble. Ensemble number 3, and that's a project in Poland on nanophotonics and crystal growth. Dorota Pawlak is representing the project. Dorota? We also have Excelsior, Cyprus again, remote sensing and space services, Harry Kontoes. Then a nice acronym too, I must say. It's Smart Cities and Urban Open Platform, and the name of the project, which is Estonian, Ralph Martin Soe, is Finest Twins. Then we have a Bulgarian project, I think from Sofia, on big data, the GATE project, Silvia Ilieva. And then multifunctional materials, a project in Poland, Nomaten, Jacek Jagielski. We have a project in the Czech Republic, RICAIP, which is informatics, robotics, and cybernetics, Andrej Velek. A lot of digital. And we finish in health and computational medicine, again in Poland, Jan Ozinski, the SANO project. So, dear teaming laureates, congratulations also on my behalf. You heard the lessons from your predecessors. Independence, sustainability, getting going immediately. You heard it all again. Best of luck, and we will now, I think, take a picture with the group. Is that feasible? Let's try. Try to compact yourself a little bit, if you manage. Voilà. Très bien.